Ryan Cohen to me is always playing 3D chess. Everything that he did with Chewy and everything that he did with GameStop, I'm glad that he's the guy at the helm of this thing. And, I wouldn't be surprised. Sure, you could call this a conspiracy, but I wouldn't be surprised if he deliberately sabotaged yesterday's CNBC interview on purpose to get everybody to short, just to release the real news and the information today. So that is my degenerate type take from the WallStreetBets side. I'm going to be grabbing some popcorn, I'll tell you that much, because I think we might see fireworks if Ryan Cohen comes calm, cool, and collected today.
Welcome to MTS.
Back. We're back with WallStreetBets to talk about one of the most interesting things in WallStreetBets lore in the last few years, since the really big thing in 2021, is GameStop just dropped a massive offer to acquire eBay. So what are your takes on this situation?
Oh,
Firstly, yeah, I'm here. It's a good question. That's a loaded question, hence the pause. Theo, Sophia, pleasure to be on here with you all. Of course, big fan of MTS. You guys are absolutely crushing it. And so I want to start just by giving you guys your flowers. And I appreciate you reaching out to us and wanting to schedule.
Absolutely.
Theo, you asked for my thoughts. Yeah, absolutely. Theo, you asked for my thoughts on the eBay situation that's made the headlines recently, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yes, of course. Look, so, I can only speak for myself, and, my 2 cents are exactly that, and that's all it's worth as well. But, I remain bullish personally as one of the core contributors to the WallStreetBets community on GameStop. We like the stock. And, we like Ryan Cohen. I think the interview yesterday or the other day, it's all a blur to me, was obviously not the most ideal. And we saw some ripple effects in terms of how the market took that interview. Now, do I think the acquisition of eBay is a good idea and in the right direction? Yes, I thought that was super bullish. And before, Ryan had went on that interview, I was extremely bullish on the trajectory of GameStop. Now, I'm not as educated to be able to talk about the specifics of how you get a leverage buyout like that done, but I do believe in Ryan Cohen. I do think he did incredible things with Chewy, and ultimately from a financial puzzle, financial engineering, whatever you need, you may call it, perspective, I believe that he has his head screwed on well enough to know, what he's talking about. Now, I do believe that he has a direction here, and although that interview yesterday was not the most ideal, maybe there was some personal issues, or maybe it was even purposeful that he he did the interview the way that he did yesterday. But look, there's another interview with Ryan Cohen today, making money with Charles Payne at 2 p.m. And so that for me will be a little bit of a redemption. Let's see how he performs on that, and that that's really what I have my eyes peeled out for here.
It was a totally iconic quote. Like, I saw a tweet yesterday that was like going into Chipotle and just saying half cash, half stock. That was a good one. What do you think GameStop plans to do with eBay? What's the goal?
I think as we move into a more and more hyper, all the trends are pointing in the direction of more speculation, more gambling, more risk on approach to everything when it comes to investing. I think the markets remain irrational longer than they remain rational. We saw what happened with car recently. There's no reason why a car moment could have happened with GameStop again. And I think the moment with yesterday and with Ryan, it could either be an inflection point in a negative direction, or it could actually be an inflection point in GameStop reinvigorating what it means to be a meme. Because I actually saw, Theo, countless memes yesterday of Ryan. I saw one from the Maverick of Wall Street. How are we going to pay the national debt? And it was just a picture of Ryan side-eyeing to the right. And then I saw the select payment type, and it's like half cash, half stock. Right? It's on our
That's a good
website.
one.
I think it really good memes, and that could be bullish for us in the long term here. Now, the acquisition of eBay, obviously we know Pokemon cards are having an absolute resurgence. And, Ryan Cohen had a moment where he was kind of entering more into crypto. I think he's really an innovator. He sees where the puck is going. And so I think whatever his plans are for eBay, whether it's in collectibles or, whatever his direction he sees is, I think he's seeing it from a perspective, okay, here's where the puck's going. And this can fit into our overall thesis, resonating with the audience who grew up with GameStop.
And GameStop stock it was down the last few days. It really spiked on May 1st, last Friday. It dropped quite a bit between Friday and market open today. And today it's back up 2%. So what do you make of all this? Is this like a buy opportunity? This is not financial advice, right?
Yeah. So of course, this is not financial advice, and WallStreetBets, just as well as we're known for making money, we just as much lose money. And so by no means, is this financial advice, or should you be taking this any more than your 2 cents? Because again, that's all it's worth. I heard Tony Robbins say that before. I've taken that into my vocabulary. I think it's interesting, right? I mean, the things that I'm looking at, and shout out to Jake Wujastic, who's one of my, I hope I'm saying his last name right. He's one of my favorite FinTwit accounts, made a lot of money trailing his theses. And he has some really good analysis across the board. And, there's a few things, right? Michael Burry leaving his position, could be potentially bullish. Like I always look at I try to find, the opportunity in the chaos, right? I think there's always opportunity in the chaos. I think there's always a silver lining. Michael Burry selling out of his position could actually be bullish because it decrowds the trade. Now everybody's not going to be watching Michael Burry, right? He's out. I think another thing that's really interesting is the options change and the option volume, right? There's 57,000 of volume on a down day yesterday. And I think today is extremely important to see the options volume. And then, of course, when Ryan Cohen speaks at 2 p.m. on money markets, I mean, these are the things that we're going to be watching. So did I buy more personally through this? I did. I do remain bullish on the stock, but maybe I can catch up with you guys online or offline later and keep you guys updated on my personal preference and my personal perspectives. But at the moment, I am going to be watching today very closely. It seems like for a lot of reasons, and I'll be looking at the options chains, most of all watching the live stream with Ryan Cohen later.
We'll continue monitoring right after this message from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Macroscope. The last time I went to San Francisco, I found that I couldn't go anywhere, even to the coffee shop, without hearing some founder talk about how they're shipping faster than ever. What they're not saying is that nobody on the team actually knows what got shipped, who shipped it, or whether it's about to break something in production. Macroscope is the AI code-based understanding company, and they fix that. They have 3 core products. The first one is Status, the best way to understand what's happening at your company and what all your engineers and agents are shipping. The second one is Code Review. All this extra code being shipped needs a robust defense layer. Macroscope is the highest signal code reviewer with the least noise. The third is Agent, a single layer of intelligence that synthesizes all the tools in your stack, issue management systems, code, docs, logs, and more, and answers questions, takes actions, and automates workflows for your team. Like an omniscient, always-on, uber-capable senior engineer, plus a product manager, plus a TPM, plus ops person that helps your team be 10 times more productive. Head to macroscope.com/MTS to get started. That's macroscope.com/MTS.
Quick word from our friends at AdQuick. I'm just trying to monitor the situation online as much as I can. Between the pop-ups, the autoplay video ads, and the sponsored posts, it's a miracle any of us see anything at all. That's why marketers are turning back to out-of-home. AdQuick unlocks the benefits of out-of-home advertising in a way no one else has. It's built for marketers, with the engineering excellence you've come to expect from the internet. Out-of-home is one of the best ways to build brand awareness, reach new customers, and reinforce your brand message. It's just been hard to scale. With AdQuick, you can plan, deploy, and measure campaigns as easily as digital ads. Buy from 1,700 plus media owners in one place. Modernize your marketing at adquick.com. That's adquick.com. This episode is brought to you by Merge, the connective layer for production AI. Look, I DoorDash Chipotle probably more than I should. And the thing I've come to appreciate is that I never think about what's happening behind the scenes. I tap a few buttons and a burrito shows up. That's the bar. That's exactly the problem with building AI agents right now. The hardest part isn't the agent itself, it's everything around it. Connecting to the tools your team and customers rely on, letting agents take action with the right permissions, and keeping everything reliable and cost efficient once you're in production. Merge handles all of that for you. It connects agents to thousands of tools, handles permissions and LLM routing, and lets teams move faster without building it all themselves. OpenAI, Dropbox, and Ramp use Merge to move fast and build AI right. Visit merge.dev/MTS to start building for free. Is Mike, like, people, in the FinTwit community love to talk about Michael Burry, but is Michael Burry actually like super overrated? Like he predicted the financial crisis of 2008, but he's predicted a whole bunch of other catastrophes that didn't happen. He shorted Nvidia, which just seems incredibly stupid given the whole like AI boom that's happening. Here we're very AGI pilled. What do you think? Is Michael Burry overrated?
It's a good question. It's a controversial question. I think you're asking the right questions. I hope to one day develop a relationship with Michael Burry, so I won't say he's overrated. But I do think, and look, my favorite movie of all time is The Big Short. On my flight recently, I was flying to Europe and flying back. I watched The Big Short both ways, and I think I fell asleep, with it in my ears. And I'll never forget the scene with Ryan Gosling, with the quant. Like, this guy, he doesn't even speak English, right? And then he's like, oh, well, I actually got second in that math competition, and of course I speak English. So it's one of the best movies of all time. I think they did a really good job of romanticizing Michael Burry in that, and I think Michael Burry is going to be, a staple to our financial community for a very long time to come. And I think people win big sometimes and they lose big sometimes. I definitely didn't agree with that Nvidia trade. But I wouldn't say he's the end all be all. He's just a single, point of confluence that we can take into our kind of thesis. But I do think him maybe exiting his position could be bullish.
Got it.
So I'm curious, what is the current vibe in the Wall Street Bets community compared to the golden age of, 2020, 2021?
I think the vibe is that, we still have an extremely amazing community, I believe. I think one of the best communities on the internet. And when you look at the core contributors to the Wall Street Bets ecosystem, we're still here. We're still going strong. I think, a roaring kitty tweet every now and then would definitely get everybody excited and rally and galvanize the community. But look, at this point, we're decentralized to an extent. And I think the core contributors could remain to be bullish, remain to be active. And, personally, I could speak for myself. I can't speak for everybody, but I'm as active as ever. I'm as busy as ever. And so if that can be a leading indicator for what the Wall Street Bets community is, maybe we could take it at that. But, we remain active. We remain strong. And I do think we're going to have our moments of resurgence. Life is long. I think, the Wall Street Bets brand, although, fragmented in some capacities, is the strongest traditional finance / crypto intersection community and brand in the world. And that remains to be my thesis. And so I'm honored to be a part of this kind of group as both a community member and a core contributor. And I think we will see our good days. We will see our bad days. But, either way, you can bet that we'll be here. I think that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think about the current state of the markets, which currently seems like there's two sort of opposite forces pushing in opposite directions, where one force is this current ongoing crisis in the Strait of Hormuz in the Middle East, massive oil supply shocks. And then the other thing is AI continuing to just rip. We here think this is like a hell of a super cycle. It's going to continue to rip, and memory and semiconductor stocks are going to continue to go up and pull the rest of the market with them. So which one of these two forces do you think wins in the end?
Yeah. I do want to say one more thing on the whole GameStop side of things before we turn the conversation, 100%. And I will address that question as well. Theo, I think it's an amazing one. I wouldn't be surprised because Ryan Cohen to me is always playing 3D chess. Everything that he did with Chewy and everything that he did with GameStop, I'm glad that he's the guy at the helm of this thing. And, I wouldn't be surprised. Sure, you could call this a conspiracy, but I wouldn't be surprised if he deliberately sabotaged yesterday's CNBC interview on purpose to get everybody to short, just to release the real news and the information today. So that is my degenerate R-word type take from the Wall Street Bet side, is we might be just, I'm going to be grabbing some popcorn, I'll tell you that much, because I think we might see fireworks if Ryan Cohen comes calm, cool, and collected today, because I saw so many tweets of all these people who are waiting to dunk on us. And there's another thing to be said about your last question that just came to me here, Theo, which is, we've been ranging for such a long time. I think GameStop is just such a core part of the sentiments of the Wall Street Bets community. And so can I say we're at all-time highs? Absolutely not. Are we at all-time lows? Absolutely not. But we've been in a hell of a range between 20 and 30 bucks. And I felt like we were absolutely about to break out of that range when we were at 28.50. I mean, I saw the pre-market action before yesterday, before Ryan went on that. And so look, my 300 IQ play for if I was Ryan Cohen is I deliberately sabotaged yesterday's interview to come back today and double down and squeeze the hell out of these damn shorts. So, that would be my Ryan Cohen 300 IQ play. And Ryan, if you want to, reach out to me, you're welcome to on the X, and we can talk more.
Or come on MTS.
Yeah, and come on MTS. I would say it's a genius of the and as opposed to a tyranny of the or situation.
Yeah, Ryan Cohen, you're invited on MTS. Come on anytime. We'll talk to you about GameStop.
Yeah, you got two beautiful faces to look at as well. Unfortunately, I don't have my camera today, but I don't look as good as you guys do. So it's wonderful to have some great faces and some great voices to have the pleasure to talk to. Theo, do you want to ask that question again? I do remember it, but I wonder if it's a good idea for you to re-prompt it.
We'll continue monitoring right after this message from our sponsors. You're in back-to-back meetings all day. You're trying to monitor the situation. You're nodding like you're following along. But somewhere in the back of your head, a little voice is screaming, "What was the action item? Did I agree to something? Whose dog was that on the call?" That's where Granola comes in. Granola is an AI-powered notepad for meetings. You jot down whatever messy notes you take anyway, and in the background, Granola is quietly turning it all into something a real adult would write. No bots crashing your calls, no distractions, just a clean little notepad that does the heavy lifting so you can focus. During or after the call, you can actually chat with your notes. Ask Granola to pull out action items, help you negotiate your next raise, draft a follow-up email, or coach you through a tough conversation using recipes from Matt Mochari, Lenny Rachitsky, and others. It's the same tech we use to make our podcast notes. Try it once and going back to your old system feels deranged. Head to granola.ai/MTS and get 3 months free with the code granola.ai/MTS. That's granola.ai/MTS. At every founder dinner in SF, everyone's talking about models and data. Nobody's talking about the real bottleneck in AI adoption. It's the connective tissue, the layer between your models, agents, APIs, and context. Kong gives you the platform to power and govern that connectivity. The control tower that governs your traffic, cuts your costs, and sets guardrails for agent-to-agent interactions. Without it, you're not monitoring the situation. The situation is monitoring you. The infra decisions you make in the next 12 months decide whether you're shipping in the agentic era or posting through it from the sidelines. Because when AI traffic scales 100x, the companies without proper connectivity and governance don't just slow down, they can't function at all. Kong manages all of your AI traffic in motion, giving you the full picture regardless of traffic type, and adding a governance layer regardless of model, agent, or architecture. Fortune 500s run on it, AI native startups ship on it. If you're serious about AI, visit konghq.com.
At MTS, we are always monitoring the situation in enterprise software. And right now, the situation is this. When AI code generation first emerged in 2022, NVIDIA master inventor and Harvard engineer Sid Pardeshi took a contrarian stance. Inference time compute and agent orchestration, not pre-training, would be the key to unlocking high-quality AI-driven software development in the enterprise. He believed the real breakthrough wasn't in how fast AI could generate code, but in how deeply it could reason to build enterprise-grade applications. While the rest of the world focused on copilots, he architected something fundamentally different. The first autonomous software development platform leveraging thousands of agents that is purpose-built for enterprise-scale code bases. Blitzy is unlocking 5x engineering velocity and delivering months of engineering work in a matter of days for Fortune 500 leaders right now. Transform the way you develop software. Discover how at blitzy.com. That's BLITZY.com.
Yeah. So there's two forces going in opposite directions in the market, where one is the Strait of Hormuz and oil prices pulling the market down, and the other is AI, memory, semiconductor stocks pushing the market up. So which one of these do you think wins?
Look, I think it's interesting. There's a few different theses here. Paul Tudor Jones said something interesting recently, which was that the market is reminiscing him of 2000. Now, when it was 2000, I was nothing more than a little bit of a overdeveloped fetus. So I can't say that I was around at that stage.
Neither of us were born yet.
Okay, well, God bless your souls then, because you guys are well ahead of your time. But Paul Tudor Jones, I do think he's a legendary investor, and that is a side of me that considers. Now, there's other things that to be said about the rate of innovation and the rapid rate at which the world is moving, and that is going to cause a significant amount of economic growth and growth in our GDP. And as the dollar continues to become devalued, stocks just become more valued. That's another thing that you're always going to see, in my opinion, in terms of an inverse relationship. If dollars are getting devalued, but these stocks are still, just as valuable yesterday as they are today, they're not supposed to just be denominated in just USD, then the price of stocks are going to continue to go up. Now, I do think that there is a level of risk given the fact that these massive IPOs are going to add so much of the total value of the stock market, and they're going to be a little bit of a vacuum. And there could be some ripple effects from these, never be seen before IPO sizes. Now, another thing in terms of, market dynamics that I find extremely interesting and I would have never seen is the way that SPY continues to make all-time highs on almost a daily basis. And I do believe, the reason why SPY went from 630, and by the way, we were aping, when SPY was between 630 and 650. The reason why was it felt like a good discount, and anything more than a 10% drawdown, is a bear market. And so, it felt like a good time to be adding positions. But the way we ripped up was unprecedented. I don't think anybody would have expected us to rip that aggressively. But in hindsight is 2020. I think the reason why we did is because of the lockout, right? People are calling their funds, people are calling Fidelity, people are calling their JP Morgan account managers, and they're asking, what are we holding? What are we buying? And they might not have answers to them. So I think what we have seen over the last couple weeks is what seems to me a complete lockout rally in the broad markets. I do like the price action, and again, I got to shout out my guy Jake Wujastic, because I think he gives these types of analyses, and I really do agree with him in a lot of regards. I do get a bit cautious, of course, similar to him, but I don't think we've seen the absolute, end of the irrational. The last thing that happens before we see a market, drawdown is you see complete irrationality in the markets. And so I'm looking at things like Dogecoin. I'm looking at things like Pengu, which is that penguin coin. I'm looking at things like GameStop as my indicator to tell me, hey, how irrational is the market really? Because what started as a lockout across the markets, and which forces these funds to deploy their billions, if not trillions of dollars of capital to make sure that they can tell, their LPs, their investors, their people, hey, we are in these positions. I don't think we've seen the funny money move enough. And so that's what I'm going to be looking for before, I'm turning into more of a cash position.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well,
the jester move.
the
ultimate jester move.
Well, Mr. Betts, Mr. Wall Street Bets, it's been great having you on MTS. We love talking about GameStop. Whenever a GameStop thing happens, we'll be sure to have you back on. Thanks so much for coming on.
I appreciate it so much. I would love to be on. I think we're talking about a lot of really interesting things, including the intersection of AI in the world, the AI and crypto. So I welcome everybody everybody to follow along. Thank you guys so much for having me. Happy to come back anytime. And we'll be tuning in myself to the show. You guys are doing a great job. So God bless.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for
And
coming
we'll
on.